watching this video with fire. To watch, not for video background or anything. I don't know why you would think that. I'm just watching it. Anyways, for my Bible project, I've chosen to cover the way of longitudinal themes. So this is just themes in which God reveals himself throughout the Bible. So you've got God's covenant, meditation, his law, his presence, which is what I've chosen to go over specifically. Now there are tons of examples I could choose for this, but I've chosen to do Isaiah 6, where Isaiah receives his calling for his ministry. Isaiah was privileged to see the Lord's glory when he was called to ministry. John confirms this when he says Isaiah said this because he saw Jesus' glory and spoke about it. Isaiah 6 is where he recounts this experience, and it's one of the clearest descriptions of Jesus' holiness in the Bible. In this passage we see Isaiah go from saying, "Woe is me," to "Here I am, send me." Isaiah seems to have seen a servant, one who is contrite and lowly in spirit, to revive the spirit of the lowly and revive the heart of the contrite. This servant is seen not only as messianic, but as divine. In John 12, we learn that John has apparently seen the same servant. Sounds like Jesus to me. Isaiah also tells us the servant is joined by seraphim. He tells us that each had 6 wings, with 2 he covered his face, and with 2 he covered his feet, and with 2 he flew. Even the seraphim, these perfect superhuman creatures, covered and humbled themselves before God's holy presence. We also learn the seraphim are shouting to each other, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts." In the book of Revelation, we get an almost verbatim description of the seraphim. They all have 6 wings and cover themselves before God's presence, and they all are saying, "Holy, holy, holy" to the Lord. After this, Isaiah shouts, "Woe is me, for I am lost. I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips, for my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts." The holiness of the Lord is so great that it makes Isaiah tremble at just the sight. Then when the seraphim touches Isaiah's lips with a burning coal from an altar, and says, "Behold, this has touched your lips. Your guilt is taken away, and your sin atoned for." This is an example of God's presence bringing cleansing, a theme which is reflected in salvation. This theme is described in several New Testament passages, such as Hebrew 9:14 and 1 John 1:7. The blood of Christ sanctifies us in salvation, just as God's presence brings cleansing to Isaiah. In both cases, the remedy is sufficient and is immediately effective. This cleansing qualifies Isaiah to proclaim this grace that he's just experienced. Later in the passage, we learn that God's discipline will leave a holy seed, like a stump left over after the burning of a forest. This holy seed is the remaining believers saved by the same grace as Isaiah. They are the hope for the world. We are the hope for the world. And then after that, Isaiah has to do a bunch of crazy stuff, like walk around naked for 3 years, name his son Maher-shalal-hash-baz, which I can't even pronounce, but ultimately all to proclaim the grace of God and follow his commandments. So, I'd love for you to think about this passage a bit and some other ways God reveals himself throughout the Bible. Now, I am going to watch this fake fire. I'm not enjoying this very much.